Good Monday evening, everybody, and welcome back to another video. And this is going to be my concluding video to the Mission Impossible franchise. So I'm going to take a few minutes to go ahead and rank all 7 movies in this franchise. So I do consider this to be one of my favorite spy action franchises, and I thought it wouldn't be for me, but as this franchise progressed in like the later years, these movies are considered to be like one of the best action movies. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. At number 7 is Mission Impossible 2. Now, I don't outright hate this movie, but it's definitely the weakest, in my opinion. And it seems like everybody else thinks so too. To me, this one is a little stylized and a little over the top. The villain is kind of forgettable, and the whole mission is kind of lacking on action and suspense. Yes, there is action in here, of course, but this whole mission is to stop what's called the Chimera virus, which is a very deadly strain of like the flu or something. And this movie starts off very, very slow, but the back half of this is much better. So the only action set pieces that stand out to me is like the motorcycle chase within like the last 20 minutes of the movie. And you definitely get that John Woo aesthetic where you see a lot of slow motion and Ethan Hunt just like flips all over the place. This movie came out the year after The Matrix, so apparently The Matrix was adapted here as well. But I found this movie to be decent, but clearly not the best. That was Mission Impossible 2. Continuing on with number 6 is the original Mission Impossible. And this is probably the most grounded of the series. It's more of like a thriller than an action movie. Well, all these are action thrillers, but this pretty much starts off the whole origins of the IMF, and Ethan Hunt is determined to figure out who killed his team, because his original team gets sabotaged in the beginning, and he has to hire a new team to find out who sabotaged the team. So I really do enjoy this one, but it is the least interesting one story-wise. But it's pretty much who betrayed Ethan and Ethan getting his revenge on the death of his teammates. But a close friend of his, which is played by Jon Voight, is the actual villain in here. So this one is very low stakes, but I think the stunt that like really stands out in here is the final train sequence where He's on top of a high-speed train, and a helicopter is coming after him, and the helicopter crashes while the rotor is like right here at his neck. That's very tense. But there's also a very famous part in here where he's on like a tightrope trying to break into the CIA, if I'm not mistaken. And he's trying to get like records, and he's looking at like a bead of sweat dropping from his glasses. Or there's a possibility of like a rat gnawing on the wire. That's a very tense scene. And it's definitely what makes Mission Impossible stand out. But this one is good, but there are better movies in this franchise. But that was the original Mission Impossible. My number 5 pick was intended not to be my number 5 pick. This one was supposed to be much higher, but I had to switch around a couple entries. But my number 5 pick is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. And this is the 5th entry into the franchise. And this starts off after the events of Ghost Protocol, where the IMF is disbanded and disavowed. So basically, they're on their own, but they run into a new threat called the Syndicate, which is an anti-IMF, and it's ran by a former British intelligence officer by the name of Solomon Lane. So Lane recruits followers to his cause to essentially make the world a better place while possibly destroying it. Now, to me, that's a very simple storyline for the Mission Impossible franchise. But, like I said, there are better movies in this franchise. I still think this is a fantastic movie, but Fallout is better. And you'll see where I have that later on in this video. But the main stunt that like really stands out in this one is in the beginning, where the IMF and Ethan are like in Belarus or somewhere around Russia, and they're about ready to complete a mission, but Ethan just hangs on the side of a plane while Benji is trying to get a door open for Ethan to go on that plane. It's a very tense scene, but there are bigger and better stunts in this franchise. So, that was my number 5 pick, Rogue Nation. In at number 4 is going to be the new kid on the block, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, what really holds this movie back is that it's a Part 1. I still find this to be like one of the best action movies of the year, and that's pretty much saying a lot because we haven't had that big of an action year at all. But this is, of course, like the start of like a 2-part final mission, if you will. But that starts off with like a Russian submarine trying to avoid getting blown up by an enemy submarine. But this submarine that's firing at this Russian submarine disappears completely, but the torpedo hits the Russian submarine, killing everybody on board instantly. And it was controlled by AI, or artificial intelligence. So essentially, Ethan Hunt is on the hunt, I did it again, for this key that opens up what is in this sub. Of course, we'll see that in part 2, but I really did enjoy this one quite a bit, and I did enjoy the addition of Haley Atwell, and she is kind of like a central character in this movie, and pretty much a new female lead, because, yeah, the one stunt that like really was marketed in this movie was a motorcycle jump off of a mountain and onto a moving train. That was a really fun sequence, but it is near the end of the movie, and there is also a human villain in here that goes all the way back to the original, and it turns out that the villain in here killed Ethan's team in the original. So there are parallels to the original, of course, where like there's a train chase near the end, and you also get the return of Kittredge in here. And yeah, I really did enjoy this one, like I said, but it's lower on this list because it's a part 1, and I definitely can't wait until part 2 comes out. This movie right here could go up. But that was my number 4 pick. My top 3 are very interchangeable, but today my number 3 is going to be Mission Impossible 3. And this has probably one of the best villains in the whole franchise in Owen Davian, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. This story is more personal towards Ethan Hunt because Davian abducts his wife-to-be. And there's also like a cold opening where Owen is demanding where the rabbit's foot is, and he just has a gun pointing to her head, and he just counts to 10, and if Ethan doesn't give it up, bang. That was one of the most tense moments in this scene. And to begin a movie like that is just, whoa. Of course, it's not Ethan's wife. It turns out to be Davian's translator. But I also do like the first half of this movie where Ethan is on the hunt for this other IMF agent played by Kerry Russell, and she is basically abducted, but something's not right with her. Well, she basically gets her head imploded by some microchip, and she just goes. It's really fast and really brutal, but I just really like the personal stakes of this movie, and the one scene that stands out in this movie is, of course, the highway bridge scene where Davian actually escapes. What holds this movie back, though? What's the rabbit's foot? Even Ethan don't even know. But that's really the only thing that holds this movie back. No explanation on the rabbit's foot. But this is still a fantastic movie. That's my number 3 pick, Mission Impossible 3. And at number 2, and I do gotta admit, this was very hard, but Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This is easily the most rewatchable because it's kind of fun in a way. It's got like more humor is what I'm trying to say. But this movie kicks off with an infiltration of the Kremlin, and the IMF are blamed for it. So they get disavowed and are basically on their own. And we just find out what actually, or who actually blew up the Kremlin. It turns out it's this arms dealer or something, and he's after like Russian nuclear launch codes. So there are some major stakes near the end of this movie where Ethan has to stop like a nuclear bomb from taking out a city. And he actually does, while hitting a button and saying mission accomplished. What makes this movie my number 2 pick is the major stunt. And that is Ethan climbing the Burj Khalifa in Abu Dhabi, which is one of the tallest buildings in the world. What does he have? Gloves and a rope. But he's basically trying to get to the villain while disguised as a person working with the villain. So he has to get to a certain floor to like stop a security camera from malfunctioning. That was very hard to explain. But that whole scene is very tense, and you think for a moment that he's not gonna make it because both of his gloves fail, and he just like literally swings around the building. He barely makes it, but his team pulls him up and he's okay. That's the one scene that stands out in this movie. But my number 1 pick is gonna be Mission Impossible Fallout. And this is one of my all-time favorite action movies, and it's for a good reason. This has the best stunts, and it's probably got the best story out of the whole franchise. So basically, Solomon Lane comes back in this one, and he is in cohorts with Henry Cavill, who actually started working with the IMF as Agent Walker, but it turns out he's John Lark, which is a very powerful plutonium dealer. So they've formed a plan to actually spread disease to third world countries by plutonium bombs. I love this movie very much, and I just wish I would have seen it more often. Only my second viewing, and I still feel the same way I did when I saw it in theaters. And Henry Cavill is definitely a standout, because this dude is crazy. I mean, it takes a while for him to die, but when they're on the cliff, Ethan just like throws the hook to his eye, and he just gets hammered by a helicopter. But let's not leave out that bathroom fight. That fight is probably the coolest melee section of this whole franchise. People are getting like thrown into mirrors and all that stuff. But I have nothing at all negative to say about this movie. It's just perfection. But that's my ranking on the Mission Impossible franchise. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you want my full thoughts, I did singular reviews for all 7. So before you watch this, check those out. And yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. And next video I want to film is hopefully my movie review for Oppenheimer. So whenever I do see that, I'll definitely film a review for it. But we also have Haunted Mansion coming out and Talk to Me. And I might even have a book review for you later on this month or into August. And I'm going to talk about Needful Things because I'm almost done with that. So look forward to all these videos. And I'll also have like a mini book haul. And of course my movies I watched in July. So I still have quite a few things to film in July. We're almost done. And my last video in July, I'll have a very brief announcement on what's coming up in the next couple months. So look forward to that announcement. It's going to be very exciting. And I definitely can't wait to tell you guys. But wait for the end of the month, because both of these plans are probably going to be my most ambitious videos yet. So stay tuned for that and enjoy the rest of your Monday. I'll see you soon. Adios. Peace.